Hello, and welcome back to the Irish Tennis Updates podcast. Today, we are hearing all about a new National Tennis Hospice fundraiser. I'm talking to two people. Firstly, to Alan Beaddie, who has been running a similar sort of fundraiser in his home club in Clontarf for the last several years. And I'm also talking to Paul O'Sullivan, who is the commercial manager at Tennis Ireland. In this short episode, we'll hear all about the fundraiser, about where it came from, what its goals are, how you and your club can get involved. So without further ado, here are Paul and Alan. Okay, so I'm here with Paul, who is the commercial manager at Tennis Ireland, and also with Alan, who is head coach in Clontarf. And I know you guys are working on a fundraiser, and I guess we're going to hear all about that and how to get involved. And I'm just going to come to Alan first. And I know this is something you've been doing for a few years in your club in Clontarf. So just tell me a bit about the idea initially.
So the idea, Adam, initially was that about 7 or 8 years ago, I went to visit someone in the hospice, and I was basically blown away by what went on inside the place. It's just a feeling inside it that I had never ever experienced. Just a feeling of calmness, considering where you were and what was going on inside the place. So I visited the person, and as I left, I was speaking to the girl who worked in reception and about the finances in the place and how they survive year on year throughout the country. So she's saying, well, we get X amount of money from the HSE, but we need 10 times that amount of money to survive. So a lot of it comes through donations and fundraisers. So I kind of said to her, I said, look, leave with me. I said, I'll try and do something. So I just had this idea because I drove from that hospice in Raheny to work in Clontarf, which is about a maximum of a 10-minute drive. And before I arrived in the tennis club in Clontarf, I basically had this whole thing worked out in my head as to how I was going to do it, how I was going to fill the courts. I mean, it was because I thought about doing a fundraiser before, and I just couldn't think of what to do. I was going to do like a 24-hour coaching thing, and they were just all messy. So this thing, for some reason, I had it worked out. I'd do it in an evening. So I put up a call for names. So that year we did our first fundraiser in Clontarf. So we have 11 courts. We filled the courts twice. So we've 88 people in total playing tennis. We asked them to raise money. The first fundraiser raised €23,000. So I've done 4 more since that. I've done 5 in the club, and then we've done a couple online during lockdown. So in total, between the 5, we've raised just over €150,000. So that was the first. The first one was, I think it was about October 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
So then it was very successful, so because people like to donate to hospices.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, Alan, I guess this year it's going to become something a bit bigger. It's not just going to be within Clontarf Club. So I guess, when did you kind of decide to bring this bigger, and how did it go when we approached Tennis Ireland and did that?
Yeah, so it was probably towards the end of this last lockdown. So we started back in the tennis clubs in May. So it's probably around April time I was kind of thinking, I must do a fundraiser this year, because the hospices and all the different charities had such a bad 18 months. So I kind of thought I'll do it again, and we'll try and make it a little bit bigger and maybe bring in an extra club or two. And then I thought maybe we could try and do it nationally. So try and bring in, there's 180 tennis clubs affiliated to Tennis Ireland in the country. So I thought if I could get at some of those clubs or all of those clubs some way, we could make it a massive event. So then I contacted Gareth Barry in Tennis Ireland, and he put me on to Paul O'Sullivan. And I said, we had a meeting, the 3 of us, and we discussed it. And it kind of kicked off from there. With them, it notified the hospices that this is what the plan was to do. So once I got on to Tennis Ireland, that kind of started the ball rolling with regard to a national fundraiser.
Yeah. So Paul, to bring you in, I guess, how's your involvement been? I guess it's been a couple of months maybe now, so it's kind of been in the works. So how have you been involved in this so far?
Yeah. Like, as Alan said, Adam, like when we heard about this, we were kind of thinking it's an absolutely fantastic cause. I mean, there's 180 affiliated clubs across the island of Ireland, all based in communities. Everybody in every community in Ireland has been affected in some shape or form by the fantastic work that hospices do. We felt it very much ties in with I suppose, tennis, as those who play the game know, is a real sport for life. You can play tennis from literally 4 or 5 years of age to 95, 100, etc. And we felt this was kind of perfectly aligned with the idea of tennis being a sport for life. We also kind of think it's really important that sports like tennis and our clubs give money back to the local communities. You know, obviously clubs have to raise funds for new courts, for indoor domes, etc. But equally, for a community-based sport like ourselves, I think it's really important that you do things that kind of benefit the local community. And I think local hospices, they don't get a huge amount of funding from HSE. I think if we can help raise funds, we thought it's a brilliant idea. And you know, as Alan said, like, it doesn't matter how big or how small your club is, you can do something. So if you have 11 courts and you want to put 88 people on in terms of kind of, you know, 2 rounds of doubles, you can do that. If you're smaller clubs like the likes of Boyle and Roscommon or anywhere else, you can just do something that suits the size of your club. And what really appealed to us was the fact that it's Tennis Ireland and TCI, Tennis Coach Ireland, working together. It's a chance for the whole tennis family to work together to raise funds. So it's a combination of on-court activities, off-court activities. When we spoke, Alan and myself met with Bernadette and a couple of our colleagues from the hospices, and we were just blown away by what they're trying to do. So we kind of thought this year if we could fix a date, and we went for October 1st, and you know, we're kind of thinking, you know, that's 110. So if every individual like try to raise €110, or every club tries to raise a couple of €1,000, it'll raise a huge amount of money for a brilliant cause. And you know, this is the first year we're going to try to do it nationally. It doesn't matter whether we get 20, 40, 60, you know, however many clubs. It's something we want to put in the diary for this year and forever. And you know, just kind of to take on some of Alan's, you know, really good ideas. And you know, like every coach knows how to run on-court stuff. So whether they want to run championship tie breaks, whether they want to kind of have a barbecue, whatever they want to do within kind of COVID restrictions this year. But we just thought, like, for the tennis family to get together and work on something like this, to me, it makes perfect sense. Liam, Cassidy and Peter Farrell at TCI have been very supportive. Our development teams, local teams, think it's a really good idea. Our provincial branches think it's a really good idea. And, you know, and as I say, it's just a chance to get club committees and coaches to work together on something that hopefully will grow and grow and grow and grow and generate much needed funds, you know.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So the 1st of October. So Alan, to come back to you, what's happening on the 1st of October? What exactly is going on in this date? How can people get involved?
Yeah, so the plan would be that on the 1st of October, which is a Friday evening, that the clubs do something similar to what I have tried to run in Clontarf, whereby you have people lined up in advance. You tell them what's going to happen. You tell them what time their first match will be in the club. Each of those people can either get a sponsorship card to get fundraising. They can work out the financial side of it themselves. The people come down, they play their matches. As Paul said, if possible, you have a barbecue. If you wanted, you can have a raffle. You can have a fundraiser. I tend to, on the off-court stuff, I tend to try and stay away personally from the raffle side of it, because I just think everybody who's there will already have contributed financially in some way. So it's almost like you're just bleeding those last few euro out of their pocket. So I try not to do that. If you do a fundraiser, it means people can either take part in the fundraiser or they don't have to if it doesn't suit them. Now, the 1st of October is a Friday evening. So obviously some courts, because we're a little late getting notification out, some clubs may have something lined up already, or some courts, the club beside me here in Sutton is Trackside Tennis Club, is the closest one to me. They have 6 courts, but only 3 of them are floodlit. So if you run something at nighttime, you're going to reduce your capacity of players by 50%. So what I put in one of my emails to the provinces was that if you wanted, you can run your event the next day, or you can run it on the Sunday. So that means you can do it during daytime. You can fill the whole thing. If you wanted, you could do it over 2 days. So it's kind of open that way. So you're not losing any opportunity where you may have something tied up or people may be tied up. You could run it on any of those dates. But I don't really want it to go past the following weekend, because it just stretches out then and you can't really judge what's happened. And go ahead, Adam. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, Alan, and I think Adam, as Alan said, we see this as the first of an annual event. So if it's on the first, brilliant. If it's on the next day, brilliant. But it's about establishing this as an idea and something that's going to grow and grow and grow. You know what I mean? So that's we have to start somewhere. So that's the way I think we're trying to approach it.
Yeah, brilliant. And just to come in there, and I guess, as you said, you kind of clubs have been emailed, and kind of the provincial officers have been in touch with clubs. So if anyone's listening to this and they are keen to get involved, and they're in a club, is their best advice to keep in touch with the club, maybe check the newsletter, social media, just to find out if their club is getting involved in this, Paul?
Yeah, We could do that, Alan, but equally, if anybody wants to contact me directly, it's P. O'Sullivan at tennisireland.ie. I'll happily chat to them. And again, if there's coaches, I'll put them in touch with Alan. I'm sure they all know Alan anyway. So we will be pushing it out to our social media channels. We'll be sending out e-zines, sending out kind of like newsletters, etc. But I'll take calls from anybody who wants to get involved, and we'll be delighted to assist them. So
yeah.
As I said, it's P. O'Sullivan at tennisireland.ie, and and really, if anyone just wants to send us money, we'll make sure it goes to the hospice cause.
We can turn into Bob. We can turn into two Bob Geldofs and just abuse people and get them, give me the money without the F words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You kind of know you've made it. You've made it in the fundraiser world when you're doing a podcast with Adam and Paul, don't you? I was just thinking that now. I'm doing a podcast with Adam and Paul.
And Paul, just to come back to you for a second. So if you're in a club and that club isn't getting involved in this, is there still a way that you yourself or a few friends are in the club, can you still get involved in this some way, Paul?
Yeah, like 100%. And if I wanted to play doubles with kind of like whatever 3 of my mates and just raise a bit of money or just donate something on the day, there's no reason why people can't do that. And I think as Adam was touching on, we're not kind of constricting people or saying you have to do a particular format. Like, so if somebody wants to do something during the day, if they want to organize a bit of a marathon or try the longest rally or whatever, like they can they can be casual about it and social about it and just get involved. So what we're trying to I suppose this year we're trying to sow the seed or plant the idea that this is something we want to do kind of going forward. So it's as flexible as people want to make it this year, but it's just to start establishing the principle that this is what we want to do going forward, because we genuinely think it's a perfect link to what we do as our sport, but it's a really important that we're seeing to be supporting kind of activities that go on in our community.
Yeah, brilliant. And Alan, just to bring you back in for a minute, obviously this kind of the helping the hospices all kind of, I guess, came from you a few years ago, and this year as it goes bigger and more nationwide, who exactly is the money going to? Is there a kind of a hospice like a national kind of hospice foundation, or how's that working that way?
Yeah, to be similar to, they have their coffee morning on, I think it's the Friday before our fundraiser is on. So there's a national hospice, all the national hospice together, but and the exact same as what happens in the coffee morning is all money, and it's important that the clubs realise that all money raised locally stays local. So each tennis club in Ireland has been sent a list of what their local hospice is. So there's no point in me saying to Carlow Tennis Club, I want you to do a fundraiser, and by the way, the money is going to St. Francis Hospice in Raheny, because it just loses a little bit of spark, because it just doesn't relate to them. So each tennis club will be raising money for their local charity, for their local hospice, and each club will know in advance what their local hospice is, because Paul asked Bernadette for the list of the hospices, and Bernadette and Paul then put it together to link each tennis club to each local hospice. So I think it's really important that people realise that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
It's not just a fundraiser for Dublin. Yeah,
it's a great point. So like we have 180 clubs. There are, I don't think there isn't 180 kind of hospices, but every club that like the money will go to their local or the closest sort of hospice. So it was forgot to mention that, Adam, so thanks for bringing it up, and I think it's really, really important. So it just ties in with the whole community kind of aspect of this, that the money raised in the community stays within the community.
That's brilliant. So guys, I think that's really good, and obviously it's great to hear about it, and we have the date, that clear date, 1st of October. We know people know they can get in touch, they can get involved, and clubs get involved. Are there any other points either of you would like to make clear, to make known about this?
I think the fact that it's something that's coming from Tennis Coach Ireland and Tennis Ireland, so it's something that the whole tennis family are working on together, I think is a great positive. And again, I'd like to thank Liam. I'd like to obviously thank Alan for bringing the idea to us, but Liam Cassidy and Peter Farrell and the TCI guys, because I think it just shows what potentially we can do when we all work together. And so I think, again, it's an important thing just in terms of committees, coaches, everybody kind of working together for kind of one objective.
Yeah, great. And for Alan, any other points you'd like to make, Alan?
No, it's funny, when I went to Paul first, at the first meeting we had in Tennis Ireland, he had never been involved in this before, and I mentioned the date. I said, look, I was going to do it in Clontarf on the 1st of October, and straight away he had these two really good ideas, which I think are, because instead of putting an actual figure saying, I'd like you to raise X, Y, and Z, Paul said, so it's the 1st of the 10th. So he said if everyone could raise €110, 110, and he said the year is 2021. So if each club could raise 2021, because the big thing to remember here is the numbers we're now involving in the fundraising. So in Clontarf, the last fundraiser raised in and around €32,000, which is a great amount of money. We had Sutton involved. Orna Morrissey and Sutton helped me out with it. We had Glasnevin involved one year. We had the Clontarf parish involved. But this brings in, so if you have 180 clubs, even if you only get 100 clubs to sign up, and each club raises ballpark €2,500, that's €250,000. I mean, it's a phenomenal amount of money for clubs to raise. It blows it completely out of the park when you bring in these extra clubs and all these extra people. So for me, the big thing is the difference that the 180 clubs or the 100 clubs that sign up will make, as opposed to one small club just trying to do it with the other two clubs in the area. So I think that the numbers really help.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's exciting that the amount of scale there is this year and future years, and it will be exciting to see how successful it will be, and I'm sure it will be a really good success. So, guys, I guess we can leave it about there, unless there's any other points you'd like to make. So just a big thanks for coming on and sharing all about the fundraiser, about what's going on, how people get involved. It clearly is a really great cause and a great thing to be going on. So, guys, just a big thanks for your time as well today, and in general.
Thanks a million, Adam, and thanks to Tennis Ireland and as Paul said, to Tennis Coach Ireland for jumping on board with the idea, and hopefully it becomes a success this year and an even bigger success to the years going forward.
Yeah. I said, we very much appreciate the opportunity, Adam. So and brilliant work in the podcast. So it's keep it up. Keep pushing tennis. A
big thanks once again to Paul and to Alan for coming on, for their time with this episode, and obviously with all their work on the fundraiser itself. As you've heard, it's an amazing, amazing cause. So I'd really encourage you to get involved and to get involved with your club. As Paul said, if you have any questions whatsoever, do send him an email at posullivan@tennisireland.ie. He'll be more than happy to talk to you, to help you with anything with the fundraiser. So do get in touch. A big thanks again. And until next time, I've been Adam, and goodbye.